Give yourselves a round of applause for making it up to Harlem if you're not from Harlem. And give yourselves a round of applause for being from Harlem. My name is Rocky Chowdhury, and I have the honor and pleasure of being the community manager here for JPMorgan Chase, here at our first ever community center that we opened nationally. We started our racial equity commitment here in Harlem. And thank you to the community and the work that we did here. We created 150 community managers nationally. Thank you. Thank you. And we did not do that work alone. It definitely was grateful to the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. So thank you so much for the support from the chamber, because without your support, that definitely couldn't have been possible. Through our efforts to help bridge the racial wealth gap, we've created my role as a community manager, so I support through financial education workshops that are free to the community, regardless of where you bank. Yes, free, regardless of where you bank. We talk about credit, we talk about home ownership and how that builds generational wealth, right? Because that's our goal. And we also support our small businesses and also our community by hiring within our community, which you see when you come to this branch as well. I myself, I'm born and bred on the Upper West Side, but Harlem was my playground. I shopped here, I played here, I ate here. My friends are from Harlem. So Harlem is very, very close to me. I currently live in East Harlem. And so this resource is so important. And Harlem Week is so important. I'm so glad to work for Forum that's been a over 25-year legacy sponsor for Harlem Week. I remember being a part of Harlem Week when it was just one day. But it was just one day. And I say why today as Economic Development Day. So grateful to be welcoming you to our community center to host today for the reason my father was a bodega owner. So, but unfortunately, he didn't have the resources to learn about how to grow his business and even how to keep his business. So unfortunately, we did lose a business. So my ask today is you have amazing, amazing important people in the room today. We're going to present to you all of the resources that the community offers to you. Please meet new people today. That's my ask. Because if my father made the effort to if my father had these resources available to him when he was a business owner, I can only imagine where we would be today. But I'm so grateful to welcome all of you here today and have the honor and pleasure of introducing somebody that I look up to and I hear amazing things about. I'm so grateful to have met you today in person, Mr. Lloyd Williams from the Greater Harlem Chamber.
Stay here, right. There are people who have the mic and the camera, and then there are the people who get the work done. And I heard about Rocky from Marco and from Winston the Jet, and they just spoke in glowing terms about her, how good she was to work with, how professional she was, and you lived up to your reputation. Thank you for being with us. Okay. They give me the mic because they give me there are 111 events between the 9th of August and the 20th. And so they have fun in giving me the mic to try to remember how to tell you impromptu of the events. So let me first talk to you about the theme. The theme of Harlem Week is very important to us. Each and every year, we come up, our board members, with the theme, and I want our board members who are here to please stand up, Harlem Week board members. So let me, Linda would guide. Linda handles all of the things that we do with city, state, and government agencies. Miss Barbara Burwell. Barbara, wave so they know who you are. Barbara Burwell is the treasurer of Harlem Week. She's the one that keeps us tight and makes sure we do things where we're supposed to do. And we have board members of Harlem Week who live in Indiana, who live in Texas, who live in North Carolina, who live in Illinois, etc. Barbara is the Tar Heel from North Carolina. And Barbara, thank you so much for being with us. And then we have our vice chairman, Mr. Marco Nobles, who does so many great things to keep us going. But what we do at our conferences, virtual and live, what we do with social media and production, etc., that's Marco Nobles. So give him a hand. Some of you know that Chase is not new to me. I served, some of you know, I served on the board of Chase for 5 years. So I understand the Chase family very, very well. And said to Michelle Henry, how proud I am of her. Because let me just say what I'm saying to one of your associates. Too often we get consumed in titles. You know, I am the Senior Vice President for Community Affairs and Government Relationships and Human Resources. But at the end of the day, who are you? It's really who are you? And so when you are at Con Edison and you run the Con Edison routine, who are you when you leave Con Edison? And if you don't establish who you are, then you leave with that supposed title. Michelle Henry, who you'll meet, of course, is a person I've always had the greatest respect and regard for, and I shared that with you. And I want everybody to understand that, okay? Michelle could have been a lot of places today, and she chose to be here, and that speaks volumes for her respect for this community and for you. The theme, Harlem Week, be the change. Hope, joy, and love. Be the change. What are we saying? We're saying you can be and you must be the change. You must be the change in your block. You must be the change in your family. You must be the change at work, etc. If we are not going to be the change, then who should do that for us? So we start with ourselves. We oftentimes point fingers at what others don't do. You know, what they should have done and how come they didn't do this and da da da. And hey, it begins with you. So we hope that you will take it on seriously to be the change. Let me briefly tell you about some of the things that are happening moving forward. First of all, there are 3 main days of Harlem Week, the main public days. The first one was on Sunday the 13th at U.S. Grant National Memorial Park, where we paid tribute to the late great Tina Turner. And it was a tremendous event with tributes to Tina, Ray Chew, Nona Hendricks, so many others came out. And then, because Barbara Burwell has made this to become a staple of Harlem Week, we did our gospel caravan on the 13th, featuring Bishop Hezekiah Walker and many other things that took place. I'm going to hit you with the 3 main days. On Saturday the 19th, it is called Summer in the City. Summer in the City. And it takes place this year from 5th Avenue to St. Nicholas Avenue on West 135th Street. I won't capture everything that's happening on that day, but there is a 2-day children's festival that will take place between 5th and Malcolm X Boulevard, where we will give educational information, books, toys, tablets, all sorts of educational tools to young people from our community free of charge. Now, let me just mention, there is a ticket for all children, and that ticket is a $10 ticket, okay? So they have to have this $10 ticket. But what does it cost them? Nothing. We give them these tickets. We don't collect anything or want anything, but we want the children to feel valued. We want them to see, oh, there was something put in their hands that is of value, for them to start thinking about finance and money, etc., at an early age. So we give that to them, and they're able to come. Now, there's only one problem we have at the Children's Festival, and that Linda would be my case if I did not explain that problem. The problem is the parents. Okay. The parents come and they see all of these games and they have so much fun. They start talking the kids out of the way. So you'll see now there are some mandatory signs that we put up that says that every adult must be accompanied by one or more children in order to get in. So let me finish out what's happening briefly. On that day, on our St. Nicholas stage, we are saluting the 50th anniversary of hip hop. We will honor persons like DJ Red Alert from our Harlem community. There will be a hip hop fashion show celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop, going to be Off the Hook fashion show taking place. There is our children's back to school fashion show also on that stage that evening. We will, at Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, we will have the Alex Trebek Harlem Children's Spelling Bee taking place. This is a spelling bee for kids from the ages of 6 to 13, and they get prizes and gifts and everything for their competition. We named it in honor of Alex Trebek because he was a former member of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce and worked with us aggressively, and his son now, Matt, serves on our board of directors. between 5th and St. Nicholas, 5th and Malcolm X Boulevard, we have a stage that will go from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Live performance. That Stephanie Mills will be doing a live performance. The Sugar Hill Gang will be doing a live performance. The next day, Harlem Day. That's the granddaddy. We have 4 stages of entertainment on that day. One between 5th and Malcolm, the other between Malcolm and Adam, and the other Frederick Douglass to St. Nicholas Avenue, and the 4th is in the Children's Festival. What are we doing on Harlem Day? We are honoring one of the founders of Harlem Week, the late, great Harry Belafonte. And why we're doing that for Belafonte is when he passed away, he made the front page of every newspaper in America and beyond, and every TV station and whatever. But Harry said he did not want to have a memorial service at Cathedral Church of St. John, a memorial in the streets of Harlem. And so Harlem Day is a tribute to Harry Belafonte. And every one of the 4 stages will salute Harry Belafonte on that day. So much is happening on that day. The mayor of the city of New York and the governor of the state of New York, Reverend Al Sharpton, Congressman Rangel, those are the 4 chairpersons of the Belafonte salute. They will all be coming out. The mayor will give the prestigious key to the city to the widow of Harry Belafonte and to his children on that day. In addition, what we're going to do is Mary J. Blige will be coming out on that day. She will not be performing, don't say I told you, Mary. Okay. And they said Mary was going, no. Mary will be hosting a segment. What is the name of the group, Marco? Wine-More? Wine-More. The Sons of Boys to Men. And she is hosting that segment for them. And we have so many other things happening on that day. We are also on the 5th Avenue stage going to do a tribute to Heavy D on that day with a lot of great entertainment. We have our set. We will do Broadway theater. What are we doing? And the musical, The Wiz, Lion King, Hadestown, and a couple other plays, live performances on that day. We have a Broadway Row on that day, and we have hundreds and hundreds of exhibitors and vendors on that day. Now, I'm giving you in that clip about 1/3 of what's really happening on those days. The one thing we can tell you is that we're pleased that the price that we charge for all of this remains, with inflation, we have not upped our price. It is still free. Free to our community and free to our guests. So that's part of what we're doing. Let me just close out with this, banking and finance. There are people from our board, for example, like Reverend Dennis Dillon from the board of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce. I'm so glad that Reverend Dillon is here. If you would just, because that's our business and finance person, okay? We want to make sure you get information on how you can better prepare yourself. And there are people amongst us, Ms. Burwell, who used to be a treasurer of Bankers Trust, and so many of us who come from the banking and finance industry who want to make sure that you get this on this. Our partnership with Chase actually goes back more than 25 years. I'm sure Ms. Burwell would laugh. See, you were our partners when you were manufacturers, Hanover Trust. You were our partners when you were Chemical Bank. And we've gone through all of those forms and fashions, but you've remained steadfast. So without further ado, let me move on. I will say this one thing, if you don't mind. we will have a special guest who called literally today to say he would like to come by, and he will. He is, and I'll introduce him when he comes, but he is my friend and associate, Congressman SBI. And why he is coming is there's an announcement he wants to make to the small business community about some resources he has brought to this community to support you in your respective efforts. So without further ado, that's what we're doing. So let me say, Brian, give me direction on what's happening next.
Sandra Garcia.
Okay, so where's Sandra Garcia?
She's right here.
Huh?
She's hiding in the corner. She's here.
Hey, Sandra. Okay, I didn't see her. Okay, she was hiding in the corner. Okay, she is a digital coach for Google, and they're going to give us a presentation. And there's one thing I do want to say to you. If when you leave here, there's any food remaining, you have not lived up to the expectations. Okay, and they have more in the back. Okay, so don't feel that hey, there are only a little bit left. And our team represent us well in consuming all of the food. Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Give me some more feedback. Good evening. All right, trying to figure out, do I sit, do I stand? I'll stand, because I've been sitting all day. I need to burn some calories. And I'm also standing here for two. So Baby and I are presenting December. I'm just saying December at the moment, because, before they show up, they have a mind of their own already. So they just show up. You think so? So, and I also love that when I say December, I get all kinds of dates thrown at me. They're like, if he's born on the 13th, let me know, because that's my birthday. So I'll let the whole community know. It might be the 10th. All right, well, I will talk about making better business decisions with analytics. But before I get started, I'd like to know who I have in the audience. And I'll share a little bit more about myself, so let me just fast forward. So in addition to being a digital coach, and I'll share what that is, because what's a digital coach, for Google, I am first and foremost a small business owner, and a small business owner based out of Harlem. So this photo is true, it's right on the corner. Now, this was taken a few years ago. I was a little slimmer, but it is still me. And my business was born out of Harlem. And I'm curious to know how many other business owners we have here today. So raise your hand. I thought so. All right, so even if you're not an entrepreneur, you could be an intrapreneur. So who here is an intrapreneur? So I was an intrapreneur before I was an entrepreneur. So I call myself a corporate dropout. I spent many, many years, I won't tell you all how many, in corporate America at some pretty recognizable brands. The CNN Moneys of the world, the Time Warners of the world, a few of them. Clear Channel, I could keep going. And I dropped out. But one of my last roles, I helped develop a role in a team within an organization. So I learned what it was like to curate and to also lead within an organization. So I was an entrepreneur, I learned so much, and then dropped out, started my own firm. I've been on my own now for 5 years, which is, yes, you can all clap. That is a feat, we survived the pandemic. So in 2019, I stepped out, started my business, started running it full time in 2018. Although we launched the business in 2013, and I say we because I don't do it on my own, I do it with a team, but I was still running the business while in corporate. In 2019, I got a great opportunity to represent Google's relationship with JPMorgan Chase. So I spent a lot of time in this community branch, and I believe in the front, Rocky, there's still the Google sign in the front. And this was a huge opportunity as a little girl from Harlem who grew up in Harlem. My church is still down the street on 125th Street in St. Nicholas, to now start a business and to be able to serve my own community, representing two major brands, JP Morgan Chase and Google. But I'm still first and foremost always a small business owner. So I'm very much like many of you, more so than I am like the Google and the JP Morgans of the world. So the name of my business is Encounter Your Potential. We work with businesses and individuals and help them do just that, encounter their max potential. And it's very much in alignment with my personal mission, vision, and values, which are to inform, educate, and inspire. And today we're going to talk about analytics. And why analytics? Because some of you raised your hand, some of you didn't, but I am not a betting person. But I think it's safe to say that in whichever world we may spend time in, we're all dealing with data. We're all dealing with numbers. That means we're spending time with analytics. So it makes sense for absolutely all of us. And I love this quote. Data makes your briefcase heavy, insights make you rich. Today, we are all surrounded by so much data. If you're a social media user, we love to take a look at how many likes we get, how many comments, how many people are viewing our content, whether you are independent or not. That's data. But if you're just looking at these numbers, then it's just heavy. You know, it's just more information that's clouding your mind. But if you can make sense of numbers and information and create a story, then you have something going on there. And I don't want to just be rich, but I want to be wealthy, JP Morgan Chase and team. So we need to make sense of these numbers, right? Not just the dollars, but the numbers. The numbers lead to dollars. So this quote, I love, it makes sense, is very relevant. So in order for us to make sense of data, there are tools that are available to us. Lloyd mentioned that a lot of the programs, if not all the programs, aligned with Harlem Week are free. This is a free tool. And I love free 99, and I love free that can help me monetize my business. So I'm gonna share some of the things that we can do for free in order to further monetize. Or you could also be ideating, thinking about what is that business I'm gonna launch. Some of us may have side hustles. So what is that side hustle? Someone just saw the facial expression. What is that side hustle I'm gonna grow? So data tells a story. Here are a few things that data can share with us. Where are people coming from? Where are your customers coming from? We're all in Harlem, but that doesn't mean that our business can only operate in Harlem. People may be coming from Brooklyn, or they can be coming from Chicago or California. So this information can definitely help us make decisions. But first, we gotta find the information and make sense of the information. How do they find you? It could be because you have great presence on social media, or because you attend great events like this and you're great at connecting with people. And after you connect with people at events like this, they go to your website. That could be a tactic. Or they could be searching. I search all the time, even for things or places I know how to get to. I know how to get to the dry cleaner near me, but I still search. Because mostly I want to know what are the hours of operation, how do I get there, what's the fastest way to get there. What do they find most interesting when they get to your website? If you have a website, what are the spaces and places in which they spend the most time? So Google Analytics helps you locate all this information. And it can also help you locate information you didn't even know was there that could be very helpful to you in making business decisions. That could just be fun. So this will be an intro to Google Analytics. Who here is already using Google Analytics? Raise your hand, okay. I saw 2.5 shy hands go up. What are these called, the turtle hands? All right, I won't ask how confident you are about using Google Analytics. All right, so if you are using Google Analytics, some of this may be familiar, but a lot of people didn't raise their hands when I actually didn't take a great scan of the room. And so I will share some things as well as a view of what you can do in Google Analytics. And everyone here is gonna walk away with at least one thing you can do as a result of having me here for 30 minutes speaking, okay? At least one thing. All right, so we're gonna use Eva and Ricky as an example. They're business owners like many of us. Now, we're using Eva and Ricky. They look like this, but I would like to replace Eva and Ricky with maybe one of you and one of your businesses. So those of you that are using Google Analytics, let me know how it's going. Let me know what you do as a result of today, or maybe you attend another workshop. And maybe we can replace the story here with your business story. And it'll be a business success story for our Google presentations. So Eva and Ricky, for example, they knew their face-to-face customers, loved fashion with authentic designs. We all know a little something about our customers. Couldn't understand why popular local items were selling online. This is a true story. Many of us may have good products that we know we feel are great. People tell us are great, but why isn't it selling? So they started using Google Analytics to find out. Now, it could be for many reasons, right? But what is the gut instinct and reaction that people take when they think or see that something isn't selling? Any guesses? What is a decision a business owners might take? Yes. Remove it off the website, or it goes on sale. But why would we do that? Why would we put it on sale when we don't know why it isn't selling, or remove it altogether? So now we're going to make some things up, but before we make some things up, one of the things that is important for all of us to do, including Eva and Ricky, is to create SMART goals. Not just because we're really smart people, really intelligent, and we should be making, it is smart to create goals, but our goals should also be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I don't use the word time-bound, those are Google's words. I say time-sensitive, which means give yourself a deadline. Because when you're a business owner, or you're launching something for yourself, who's the boss? You're the boss. So who's looking over your shoulders? No one. So you have to give yourself a deadline. I give myself deadlines all the time, sometimes too aggressive. So specific, add a number to it. I want to increase website traffic by 10%. And you know that if your website traffic is 2 people per day or per month, then what is that 10% or 50% up? So create very specific goals. SMART goals are not just for the entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, this is just life, I like to say. So I create very specific goals in life. Measurable. Also, how will you know you have achieved this goal if you don't add a measure to it? So what is that measure for success? Also making that very specific. Because again, we're our own accountability partners. So how will we know when we get there? And then is it attainable? So if your website traffic today is 2 people, can you really get to 2 million people by next month? So it has to be attainable and realistic. So we can say maybe 200, because then that won't seem so scary, and so scary that we actually don't go after it. Relevant. Does it make sense for our business? If you are in e-commerce, then you can create a goal around sales, volume of sales. But if you don't sell anything on your website, then will it make sense to say, I want my website to make me this much, or I want this much to be made for your website traffic? Not so much. And then specific. I keep seeing all over the social media channels, there are 4 months left to the year. So what are your 4 months, what are you going to achieve within the next 4 months for your business? I like to think in quarters. We have a quarter left. December doesn't count. And I give birth in December. So it really doesn't count. So we have 3 months left to the year, really 4. But what will you accomplish before we hit 2024? Right? And I think we can do this whether we're business owners or not. Okay, so Eva and Ricky's goals were to increase traffic to their websites by 10%, but not just overall, but from target cities. So once Eva and Ricky looked at their analytics, they were able to see that there's this popular influencer, found out about their business, and it wasn't that sales were low, specifically for those local items, they were low overall, but where they were getting sales from was from an influencer on YouTube. So what would you do if you were Eva and Ricky? Maybe reach out to this girl on YouTube and say, hey, Can we work together? Possibly. Or find other like influencers and work with them. Not take it off your site altogether or go on sale. So these are some alternatives. So gut instincts tell us something, but if we make data-driven decisions, then we can make sometimes more intelligent decisions that can lead to results that were unexpected. So this is just what Eva and Ricky did, but how can you apply this to your own current situation? They created city-themed designs, focused social media and advertising on these 3 cities, and then monitor progress with analytics. So that's another big thing. Sometimes we set goals, but we set it and forget it, but goals are to be tracked. So they're specific and they're measurable. So how do you know you're measuring against your goals? So make sure you're also tracking those goals. So some examples of goals, since we talked about SMART goals, are we all love sales. Many of us get into business not because we want to be poor, but because we want to monetize and make money. So we want to increase sales, actually make sales and then increase sales. We want to drive leads. Leads are people interested in our business. So a goal can be attract more leads. I like to say I don't just want people coming to my business, I want ready customers. So I'm very specific about the kinds of leads that I want. A ready customer is ready to make a purchase. I don't want to talk to you 5 times and convince you why. I want you to know that you need this and you want this. And we're just talking about the details of the information and then converting. So that's my kind of customer. But I'm also service-based. It would be different if I was product-based. Another type of goal is appointments. If you are a dentist, maybe you would need appointments. I was at the hair salon earlier. Maybe obvious. Appointments could be you're a stylist. Maybe you're a nail tech. You don't just have to be a dentist or a doctor. Appointments. Or maybe an accountant. Phone calls. I am a terrible phone person, so emails are better for me. But you may prefer phone calls, and that could be a goal for you. Increase number of calls per day, volume of calls. Foot traffic. Maybe you have a brick and mortar, a physical location, and you want people walking into your space. That could be a goal. Or you could be a digital business, and people may need some information first before they actually convert. So you have a freebie like a download, and that could be a goal for you as well. So these are just some examples of kinds of goals. And once you know exactly what you are shooting for, what you're aiming for, you can use this free tool, free 99, Google Analytics, in order to understand the behavior of people on your website. And now, this is if you're an entrepreneur or you work for someone else or work for a company. So I'm going to share with you all some snapshots of screens of the kinds of reports and the kinds of information you can also find on Google Analytics. I said it was free, right? It's free. That means we should all consider taking advantage of free. So using Google Analytics will help you understand what your website visitors are like, how they behave. So things like demographic information. There was a floral company that I worked with, and they thought that their primary demographic, meaning their primary customer, were women between this age and this age. And because of that, they were marketing to this audience, but they were wrong. Their audience was really males within that same age range, because they were the givers. You could also have 2 demographics, right? A primary and a secondary, but who your actual customer is impacts how you talk to them. And it's a relationship. So that language is important. And also there's seasonality around Valentine's Day, for example, Mother's Day, graduation season. So how you talk to your customer is also dependent on who your actual customer is. So who they are and how they behave, what also motivates them to take these actions. You can also learn which marketing strategies are really working. If you're running an ad campaign, is it working? Or say you're marketing across platforms, because that's what we're told to do because our customers are everywhere. Is your email marketing working for you? Is it social media marketing? Is it video marketing? There's so many forms of marketing. What is actually working? And then you can make better business decisions.
Let me hold you.
Sure.
I'm gonna interrupt you one second.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you to be with us for a moment. We're
Yes.
coming right back to you.
Okay.
You know,
It's
we're gonna make sure you finish what you're saying, okay? The reason I'm doing that is because one of our great, great friends has joined us and he has to catch a plane.
No worries.
So if everyone would just recognize and welcome my congressman and my great friend, Adriano Esquivel.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Now, let me say this to you, Sandra, everybody. Please note that this is being live streamed. And so now right at this moment, there are hundreds of people, regionally, nationally, internationally, watching everything that is taking place here. This is part of what Marco Nobles put together, that we can be in a room with 60 people, but we have 1,000 people hearing and looking at what we're saying. So you can go to harlemweek.com on this, and you could even use your phones and tell people to turn into harlemweek.com. They can see this right now in live time. Or you can look at what you want to do and go after this is over. You could go home today, tomorrow, next week, and go to Harlem Week on demand. And you'll be able to pull up everything. So as you're explaining it to your associates, what happened, you can say, hey, why don't you look at it by going to Harlem Week on demand. Elected officials sometimes get all pompous about their status and who they are, and they sometimes forget that they're really elected by us and actually paid by us to do what they do. And there are some who understand that and do above and beyond. And this guy here is my man. Okay, I have great respect and regard. He will tell you the first thing I always ask of him when I see him is, how's your mother? He knows that he's asked to report out what's happening with moms. And that's what the relationship is about. So without further ado, knowing that he has to jump on a plane shortly, my Congressman Esquivel.
Thank you, Lord. Google Analytics, huh? Well, first, let me thank Lori for all he does, right? And this Harlem Week is now a year. It's really a year, right? Because he's calling you every day, and he calls it a week, but it's really a year. And it's wonderful for Harlem, but it's wonderful for the city and the state as well. And so I wanted to talk to you briefly about two things that I'm working on, and then some good news. All good news. Well, Second Avenue Subway, as you know, is at the engineering stage. And so we're hopeful that before the end of the year, maybe October, November, we'll have a full funding agreement, and we begin this, early next year. So we can have 3 stops going to 125th Street and connecting this trip to the rest of the world, because you will connect to Metro North, a special bus service to LaGuardia, and future water transportation on both sides, right? So this is a regional hub, really. It's not just a subway stop, although it's $7 billion for 3 subway stops. I thought it was a little bit steep, right? But it's and they call it Uptown Grand Central. So this is going to bring some good energy to Harlem and particularly East Harlem, which is a transportation desert. And the Lexington Avenue line is the most overcrowded subway line probably in the world. It will move over 150,000 people every day. these 3 stops, and they will have commercial space there, beautiful renditions. I've seen them already, so this is exciting, right? The other hand, been working with the governor. Today we had a Zoom meeting on it about issues on the east side of 125th Street with the programs that are providing, life-saving services for many of our residents. But, the neighborhood is shouldering much more than they should. We find that only a third of the folks that are coming for services there are from Harlem, the zip codes in Harlem. So, 2 out of 3 should be really accommodated close to where they live. And the neighborhood is shouldering a lot. And so we're working with the governor. She's got some great ideas. And the programs that are working with us as well, which we know they're providing a vital service to see how we could make public safety and the quality of life a little bit better. And for that, also, I put in $1.1 million that will go to the chamber and other chambers, and we will work with the police department to make sure that this is for Lloyd, he likes big checks. So this is Greater Harlem, and it's $1.115 million, and it is a small business public safety initiative that we're launching. We also have another initiative with the police and young people. So we're working on both ends, right? Not just public safety, but also services for the young people that really need it, right? We gotta hear them. We don't listen to them. Hearing and listening are 2 different things. You hear a fire truck go by, you gotta listen to your 15-year-old, right? And that means you don't tell them, you listen to them. And many of them have, some good ideas. I'll bet on them. And so this is a special earmark that we put in that Greater Harlem will benefit. We will continue to work with Greater Harlem and the Rangel Center, which is a great opportunity at City College. $5 million there to train young people for those prevailing wage jobs. That's the word, right? Prevailing wage jobs that will be created by 2nd Avenue Subway, Kingsbridge, up in the Bronx, right? The governor and the mayor came in with 2 real big checks, each for $100 million. $200 million for Kingsbridge. But the exciting piece is the jobs that it will provide and the young people that the Rangel Institute will be able to train to get those prevailing wage jobs and lift them to another level, right? And so that's the idea. Thank you for your friendship, Lloyd. Thank you for your support. He's right. I get my contract signed every 2 years. It's called primary. And so I just hope to get a little bit over 50% every year. Just keeps it going. But friendship, everything you do for the community. And this stuff is in the age of artificial intelligence. Like my son just told me, I got something for you. And it was like, he told, ChatGPT, give me a speech from Congressman Espaillat on immigration. So he sends it to me in my own voice. All right, so that's what we're talking about. And then I fact check the stuff, and it's pretty accurate. A couple of mistakes here and there. We got to work on that, right? Because it's got to have guardrails, right? And so we're working on that, on the guardrails. And one of the guardrails is data in the hemisphere, our data. If our data is not, then there will be an inherent bias in everything that comes out of there that will not reflect our values and what's important to us. So I'm working on something big like with the hemisphere, and I'm meeting with the ambassadors of different nations in the whole hemisphere to see how there could be a hemispheric strategy for that, while we have also guardrails, right, on it. We had 7 of the CEOs of the biggest company go to the president and said, regulate us, because we could be a wonderful opportunity, but something as bad, and this is literally what they said, something as bad as another pandemic. Right, so they met with them, and there's an effort coming from the White House. And in Congress, one of my colleagues told ChatGPT, told him, give me everything on how to regulate yourself. And that's what they did. The blueprint was there. I mean, not precise, but something that we can work out of. So these analytics, right? Google Analytics could really be a tool for businesses, small businesses, folks that are in the community providing jobs, lowest unemployment rate at 3.4, but we still need more workers. But this drives our strategy. So thank you for that, and thank you, Lord. I gotta catch a plane. Thank you so much.
We need to take a photo, so Michelle, if you would join us, Athena, if you would join us, Lloyd, if you would join us. My fiscal conduit, Barbara Burwell, where is she? Did she depart to go back to take care of fiscal? Okay. Michael Sutton, would you join us for this photo? Okay. Thank you. Who am I forgetting? Sandra, where are you? Okay. Join us for this photo. Okay. Rocky, what's up, Rocky? What's up? What's up? Okay. Let's just take a photo.
Thank you. One, two, three. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Travel safely.
Thank you so much.
See you Sunday.
Be safe, everybody. Take care.
Okay. Sandra, back to you. Thank you for allowing us to interrupt. Okay?
No problem, that check was really serious, hold on. Is it on now? Yes. I mean, we can definitely interrupt for that value of the check. Sweet dollar. Okay, so let's see, let's get back. All right, that was phenomenal. Awesome. Okay, so back to analytics. Okay, not just back to analytics though. I do love that there was a mention about data. And that is actually what we're talking about, and from a different direction, but I couldn't agree more. And then I'll just, because, I go off script too often, I'll just go ahead and go off script and share this one. But when it does come to AI and artificial intelligence, it is critical that we are a part of the conversation. I know some of this is being recorded, and I'm gonna go off script just right now and share that even with Google products that existed in the very beginning, like voice devices, I have a Google Mini at home. My husband is Jamaican, and from time to time he uses all his accents, and the Mini would not recognize the things that he was saying. And it's important that we, in all of the beautiful difference that we come in, are parts of these conversations, because if not, then products can also be biased. I saw this interesting social meme where someone said, well, give me a graphic of a Black woman in box braids. But AI didn't know what box braids was, so it was a woman, and her face was a box with braids. Right?
Right.
So I love AI tools. I use them often, but we also have to be part of the conversation using AI as well, so we can course correct, but then also on other sides of the table. All right, so now back to our data and our analytics, but that is also analytics right there, viewing patterns, drawing insights from that. So we do need to be using these tools to benefit us in many different ways. All right, so Google Analytics can help us understand what content audiences are interested in, and that can help us create more content. So if we know that people are interested in, let's see, your blog stories, and maybe they read your blog stories, then make an appointment, write more blogs, right? That can help inform content. Also help evaluate which channels drive the most conversions. Conversions to me might be different from conversions to some of you. To some people, a site conversion is a site sale. I'm a professional service. It takes me longer in order to convert. So for me, conversion is an email or someone expressing interest. Because then if they're expressing the interest, I know they're close to being a ready customer. I spent a lot of time in sales in my corporate life, and I hated it because I felt like I was sharing information with people that didn't have the thoughts in mind for the product, and that makes it more difficult to convert. So I like to talk to people who are ready customers. You know about it, you're interested, and so we're now seeing if this is a fit for you. Okay, there you go. All right, so if you do not, which based on hands, a lot of you don't, have a Google Analytics account, you can create one by visiting g.co/analytics. So you can definitely feel free to take a photo of this page here. You can create an account and set up your account. Now, where this makes the most sense is if you do have a website. So one of the first things that I recommend that business owners do, yes, do all the formation stuff because you want to be official. It's nice to have a business name, but also make sure you're official, which means you're paying taxes. But make sure you form your actual company. And once you do all of that, create a website because this is your own and operated space on the internet. So directory sites like Etsy is great, eBay is great, sell on Amazon, that's great too. But this is rented real estate. Make sure you own your space on the internet. So go to Google sites, to Google domains, and purchase your domain. Purchase that address, purchase your business name. You can go to other places to do that as well. But more importantly, just own that space on the internet. Because it's something, we know social media has gone down, some platforms, they go down. And if your business is dependent on one of those platforms, your business also goes down or is not operating for a day. We don't want that. So many Google products and tools, once you start the process of creating an account, you'll get walked through the setup process. It's one of the things I love. So right now I'm showcasing this all to you, but then you'll be familiar once you're then creating your own account. And it's like many of the things that we use, there's a homepage. The homepage will show you the things that are most relevant to you or the things that you visit the most. So on your homepage, you might see total users on your website. These are the things I'm always curious about. I'm always curious about unique visitors, people who are coming to me for the first time and how they're coming to me. But you can also curate what your homepage looks like because some things might be more relevant to you and your business than to me. And then you'll be able to access various different reports. So I know I have 5 minutes left. And so I'm going to share some of the reports that you can access and how. I use various different tools. I have a tool for everything. Another Sandraism is that just like you employ people, I employ tools. If I am paying $69 a month for a tool, you are an employee. You have a job. So that means I check in on my employees often to make sure they're working and make sure it has a job description and make sure the job description is being met. That is my website as well. My website is an employee, it has a job, I need to make sure it's doing its job. So just like many of the tools that I employ, I check out the homepage and the dashboard. And you can filter through many things. I do this especially with my accounting software. I want to look at date filters, date ranges, and seeing if how much am I making between this year or this month and this month, or this year in comparison to last month. You can do this with analytics as well. You can customize the filters, look at date ranges, you can compare. You might want to see whether you're getting the same amount of traffic this month of August as you did last year. If you're not, why may that be? So again, it helps you make data-driven decisions. This report I love. If you are running an ad campaign, or you happen to be on Shark Tank, or on the 7 p.m. news, but maybe not 7 because we're all here, the 11 p.m. news, you can check out this real-time report to see if there was a spike in visitors to your website, if there was a difference in performance, real time. Because ultimately, these things that we do is to have an impact. Now, say you're running an ad campaign and it started today at 3, but nothing has happened since 3 p.m., you probably should check on that ad campaigns because something's not working, right? So this real-time report is great for that. It also helps you see that your efforts are actually working. Acquisition. One of your goals may be sales or leads. How are you acquiring these people? How are they coming to you? The acquisition report would let you know how. I have a story here, but I mean, I don't have time for the story, so I'll keep going. I'll tell you later. Okay, engagement. Now, engagement lets you see how people are spending time on your site, what pages they're spending time on, what are the things they're clicking, scrolling. Do they come to your homepage, check out your products, put things into their shopping cart, and leave? I do that sometimes. But do they come back and purchase? You're guilty of that too, right? My Amazon cart is crazy. But you can also see exactly when someone leaves. When someone leaves your site is so important because it can help you take an action, something you might need to fix. Maybe they're putting stuff into their shopping cart, going through the checkout process, and they never check out. Go through your checkout process. Is it long or is it easy to check out? Because if they're getting and it keeps happening, something is up with the checkout process. So engagement, monetization. Are you making money the way you think you're making money? So monetization report, we're all going to care about that, especially if you're in e-commerce. And then 2 more slides, and I'm wrapping up. Retention. This is important because how you speak to new customers is different than how you speak to existing customers. It is a different language, a different communication. A new customer, you may also get marketed to like 15% off your first purchase. Or existing customers, for our loyal customers, you get 25% after your third purchase. Or come back and make a purchase. And so how you speak to your customers may be different. So you want to know how many returning customers you have, or are you a business that survives primarily on new customers? That can impact your marketing. And then, because we're all using various different devices, what are these devices that people are engaging with you on? If it's mobile, then your website should be extremely mobile friendly. If it's desktop, then that's great too, but make sure it's responsive and it responds to whichever device someone may visit your site on. So more importantly, it just needs to be responsive. And then if you are running a campaign, an ad campaign of any sort, what I would just stress to you all is to link it to your analytics, because again, data makes your briefcase heavy, but insights make it rich. So if you are going to put time and money into something, make sure it is working for you the way that you would like for it and expect for it to work. So those are some nuggets and pieces of advice. So thank you. It's not the sexiest topic, but it's important.
It's really the most sexy topic because when we look at our bank accounts and we find our bank accounts are filled, and we remember the presentation we just received I think you will agree that you will give an applause to the sexy response. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Moving quickly. You heard the congressman reference two things. And I was particularly glad that my valued friend and associate, Michael Sutton, is here with us because he heard two things. One that he'd been wanting to hear for a long time about the Second Avenue subway and the $8 billion. But the question is, where's that going to go and who's going to benefit from that? But the other thing, Michael, that you heard is something that the gentleman who I'm going to introduce next has been in the forefront of. You heard the congressman mention the Kingsbridge Armory. Well, what is that? Well, it's an armory in West Bronx that is the largest armory in America. Put this together. Athena, you know this. That armory covers 5 football fields. That's how big it is. It's been abandoned for years. Now imagine if you were to go and look at Yankee Stadium or Citi Field and you saw a football field and you multiplied it 5 times. That's the length of the armory. But here's the other side of it, Linda. It also goes 12 stories up, abandoned. So, Michael, I want you to make a particular note on that. So we're talking about that because the renovation of that field will revitalize the West and South Bronx, will create thousands of jobs. And we need to be focused on that. So one of the first persons who really brought this to my mind is the person I'm introducing now. His name is Greg Ho. He is the CEO and co-founder of West Harlem Innovation Network. And he and his great associates, who he will introduce, have come to the chamber about 4 years ago, I believe, and started saying what they wanted to do to create business and economic opportunities in Harlem. And let me just end by saying this. Please be clear, when we speak about Harlem, we're not talking about a community in Upper Manhattan. That is not what we're talking about. If you wanted to know what Harlem geographically is, it goes from 96th Street to 168th Street from the Harlem River to the Hudson River. In that area, there are 4 different communities. Some of them we know better, the West Harlem area. Many of us know East Harlem, El Barrio. Some of us understand the Lower Washington Heights. But most of us, oftentimes, when we think about Harlem, we really think about Central Harlem. This is a fabulous community, but more importantly, as Langston Hughes said, as goes Harlem, so goes Black and Brown America. So when we talk about Harlem, why is it being live streamed? Because in Cicero, Illinois, in Roxbury, Massachusetts, in the south side of Chicago, in New Orleans, in East St. Louis, they're picking this up right now. And we're telling them that what we do here, you can do there. It may not be the exact same model. You have different things to work with. But, as Adam Clayton Powell Jr. said, it's what's in your hand. And if you look at what's in your hand and work with what's in your hand, as opposed to what's not in your hand, you will accomplish many things. A person who has represented that, I'm going to introduce next. Now, let me also say this. Those of you who come to chamber events know we start on time and we end on time. And we're going to do that so that you can mix and mingle But after you listen to Greg Ho, there is a panel discussion where some of the best minds in banking and finance have come to share their thinking with you. Without further ado, my friend, my partner in many things that we do in Upper Manhattan, Greg Ho. Linda's really the boss's wife, okay?
That's right, she has a corporate title of manager of everything.
As does my wife, by the way.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. The first thing I want to say really is, yes, this project started almost 4 years ago, and I really have to be amazingly thankful to Lloyd Williams for giving me the encouragement to do this project, and the rest of the team also believe it. And then also working with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce members has just been absolute pleasure. It takes a visionary to really support us. It's never been done, I don't think, in terms of what we propose to do. So the Lloyd and I sat down, I think 4 years ago at the Renaissance restaurant. We had a face-to-face conversation. We said, let's get that by just facts. Let's talk about principles and what we really, and I have to thank him for the trust. I'm willing to go with someone not from here, as you might know, not from here. So let me first tell you a little bit about myself, and then describe what the West Harlem Innovation Network is about. And then for some of you who are thinking about your own businesses, how it might apply to you, or some of the design principles, or something I highly encourage you to think about. So first thing is, I come from the state of Hawaii. A long time ago, my great-grandfather left China and decided to work on a rice plantation. And then he decided to move to the big city, which was Honolulu, with all of 30,000 people, and start a business. He wanted to do something that he really allowed him to work with his hands, continue to work with his hands, and started a bakery. It became the largest bakery in the state of Hawaii. World War II came along, and every one of his sons went off to war, and the bakery went under and disappeared. When they all came back, the tourist industry had taken over, and they all became porters at a hotel. My father wanted to get back into business, and never did that. He just couldn't get the financing for it. So one of the principles is financing. And when you start a business, think about that. Think in advance. Do I have the network to do it? So anyway, the family decided to send me out to the East Coast, and I wanted to go back to Hawaii, nice place to live. My grandmother said, no, you're going to the East Coast. You're going to be a lawyer. So I went to Columbia. And I headed to Los Angeles, loved the warmth and everything else. And then a job came up here, and my father said, you better take that job, you got to pay off the loans. So I ended up in New York. And then the next thing you know, I met my wife, who Lloyd mentioned. She was born in the Bronx. She was born in Puerto Rico. And we produced this child and raised her here on the Upper West Side. And I would say I've now been in New York for 50 years, almost 50 years. And this is where I live. This is where I live. And in one way, the motivation for starting West Harlem Innovation Network was, I realized that even though I was sent here, maybe for a purpose, my parents never got to see me again, really. He said, no, there's no opportunity for you here. And I've observed this constant state of affairs in Hawaii. It loses its talent, goes somewhere else. In there, that's a big distance. You don't go back to Hawaii, on a whim, but I started thinking about, all right, what do we do in cities, and how do we keep our talent? How do communities give their talent, keep their talent, and fulfill the dreams of their parents? So anyway, that was one thing. Second thing is I actually love living in the city. I can't imagine living it. Leaving it, it's also the most sustainable way for many individuals on this planet to exist, rather than big homes in isolated communities and becoming almost tribal in mentality, being part of a great city. It's also very important because the greatest innovation occurs when people with different perspectives come together. Another lesson, when you think about your own businesses. You want to be the boss, you want to be the leader, you're the founder, but if you really want to innovate, create strong businesses, make sure you have people with different perspectives who will challenge you, right? Challenge the things you've set up. Right? So these are design principles in West Harlem Innovation Network, which I'll get to in a second. Okay, the second thing that I observed is that, so everything, you leave even your neighborhoods and you go down to the commercial centers and you work in that group and you become competitors. And you get so engrossed with it that you forget everything around you. Right? You forget the people that you left behind, not only your parents, but the people you left behind. So as I thought about entrepreneurship, keeping people close together, bringing perspective so that you had an engine of innovation, right? And people highly motivated and harnessing that talent, we decided, hey, we could build a really significant, I don't want to call it machine, but a concept to change our communities to pay attention to the people that sometimes are left behind. So basically, and you have to do something that you're passionate about. That's the main thing if you're going to be an entrepreneur, something you really want to do. It could be for money. My parents really wanted to do the bakery business because that's the way they could earn the most money, right? So, okay, that's perfectly fine. But it has to be something that you mentally want to do, if you can. It's not always, but if you can. So basically, West Harlem Innovation Network takes advantage of some tax provisions that were passed back in 2017, and they're called the Opportunity Zone rules. And the Opportunity Zone rules were intended to increase community wealth. Now, someone asked, the other thing that started, and someone asked, well, so you don't do real estate, so are you going to do something in the Opportunity Zone? And I said, well, it's not necessarily harnessed to real estate. It's easier to do it because real estate can't leave the Opportunity Zone and you have to stay in the Opportunity Zone. But it is possible to do with businesses. Right? So number one premise, West Harlem Innovation Network is going to focus on people and companies, not on real estate. We might own real estate to lower the cost to our portfolio companies, to bring people together. In fact, one of our vice presidents in Jack is starting what we call WIN NHRE, which will be a co-working space. Hopefully in the short order, it will take space on 126th Street. And Adam Clayton Powell in the Alhambra building, and house some of our companies as well as open it for co-working for other companies to come in and participate in some of the things that we do. Or see what we do, or learn from the lectures that we bring on to the campus. But anyway, okay, going on. Focus on people, focus on companies. Right? One of the things that was very important in our design was higher paying jobs for people. Now, I was part of the starting of Venture for America. Some of you might have heard about that. Andrew Yang started. It was the intention to start entrepreneurship in smaller, in cities, and to create 100,000 jobs. Right? So Andrew and I looked at that after about 5 years, and we realized it wasn't creating a lot of jobs. It created a lot of companies, but not a lot of jobs. One of the focuses in West Harlem Innovation Network will be on companies that provide jobs, not about the entrepreneurs. So the introduction is, this is not an incubator. It is not about entrepreneurship per se. It's about building companies that employ people. Another factor of the West Harlem Innovation Network is that it has a focus that I think can bring the community together. You see on the title of this year's Harlem Week, it says, "Be the change, hope, joy, love." Right? Love is a very, very important motivational factor. Right? I had a friend died of pancreatic cancer. I love that person. Right? So one of the things we're going to focus on is are companies that improve the health outcomes of underrepresented minorities. Right? Second thing is, very important to my father was education. So the other part is companies that focus on improvements in the educational outcome of underrepresented minorities. Right? Now, interestingly, Congressman Espaillat mentioned data, right? We mentioned the context of artificial intelligence, right? Data is what is necessary, will enable artificial intelligence. When we take a look at this community, there is data that is not studied. And if it is studied, it will enable improvements in education as well as healthcare of underrepresented minorities. So you come to the community, you get the data, you study it, you protect it. Right? It's very important to protect it. So when we look at West Harlem Innovation Network, okay, I've given various points. The mission, companies, people, and companies. That's number one. Number two, the objective, companies that employ people and improve the outcomes, healthcare and education of underrepresented minorities. So we will have about 30 or 40 companies, life sciences, education. We will fund what we call enabling companies, which enhancing companies that might get into cybersecurity, might get into data, might get into biobanks, might get into diagnostics, providing diagnostics to the community, but collecting that digital data so that unvetted people studying it to find out how to treat members of the community. A couple of studies, very well funded. So West Harlem Innovation Network has a focus. You'll find if you're an entrepreneur that there are many places that we intersect. But basically, it's a marriage of investors, because I think we'll do very well if we come up with cures, come up with educational companies that have impact. I think we'll employ a fair number of people. We'll use the themes that are sitting in front of us right now. Data, right? People, motivation for something they really want to do, being close to their communities and driven. And hopefully we'll be a set of entrepreneurs that each aspire to be the change. So we are the change versus just another company. So that's it. Hopefully, we'll be here, engage you in the conversation. It goes deep. The Bronx project, if we get it, would be an example. The vision paper has a biobank, vertical farming, vertical garden in these 12 stores, sustainable food, sustainable, take it off the grid perhaps. So all those concepts I will be proposing on there. So from there, you'll see there are lots of intersections that we have. So thank you very much.
We see the Bronx project, if they get it, no, you're not gonna get it, you're gonna get a piece of it. Okay, I just said it's 5 football fields, so there's not gonna be one entity that will get it, but there are many pieces. And please give Greg Hall a hand. Thank you. And he will be here for Nixon later, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to have a very full presentation and exchange. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for Q&A. So be prepared for whatever your questions might be. I really don't need to look at this, but they say you do it. The Executive Director for Corporate Responsibility at Chase happens to be a very incredible woman. Sometimes you look at people in corporate America, and they kind of like their spirit tells you it's a job. Yeah, it's a job. Then you find people and you meet them and their spirit tells you it's a mission. And that while they're there, they have a purpose to benefit others. Some people, they're there and their purpose is to make a buck. Okay, well, you can do both. You can make $1 and you can benefit others. But at the end of the day, if you don't benefit others, you will have wasted those weeks, those months, the years. And so Michelle Henry is a person who doesn't waste time. So without further ado, I introduce Michelle Henry. She'll introduce her panel.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Lloyd. I greatly respect your commitment to starting on time, ending on time. So the first thing I'm going to notice, we're changing the end time because we want to make sure that we get all of the great insights from our panelists. So if you will indulge me, we're just going to go a little over. I'll ask my colleague Jason if we can maybe cut into his closing remarks for a little bit, just to make sure that the panelists get all of their insights raised. So let me introduce first Amber Dawkins. Amber is the Vice President for Small Business Financial Inclusion and Access to Capital at MasterCard. In this role, Amber helps set the strategic direction for the small business segment and leads the execution of efforts which enable underserved businesses to gain more immediate capital access through their own and outside sources. So thank you for joining us, Amber. Next, I'd like to call up Lloyd Doman, who is the Executive Director at Carver Community Development Corporation. Lloyd has over 20 years of banking, underwriting, portfolio management, and project management experience. And his responsibilities include launching and managing Carver's small business microloan program, which you'll hear a little bit more about, deepening the scope and impact of Carver's financial education programming, and further developing Carver's presence in the community through strategic partnerships and outreach. Join me in thanking Lloyd. Next up, I'd like to call my colleague Joy Butts, who's Vice President and Certified Senior Business Consultant for Chase. She has over 12 years of experience at Chase and 16 in financial services. She is an advocate, strategist, collaborator, influencer, mentor, and innovator with impeccable people skills. And we will hear more from Joy in a moment. And finally, Athena Moore, Vice President of Community Engagement for Municipal Credit Union. Christina recently served for the past decade as the director of the Manhattan Borough President's Northern Manhattan office in Harlem and brings 25+ years of experience leading organizations and working collaboratively with local elected officials, city agencies, community boards, business improvement districts, chambers of commerce, merchant associations, and social service providers. And we are thrilled that Athena is now able to leverage all of that experience as she moves into a new position at the credit union to help support consumers and small businesses. Please give a hand to our panel. So before we begin, I do want to give a big thank you to Lloyd Williams and to the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce for helping us to put together this, what I think has been a fantastic program this evening, and for all of their support as we make sure that we are providing services here in the community for consumers and small businesses to really help promote economic prosperity. So I'm going to turn to the panel, and we're going to start with sort of a general question for each of you. So the focus is banking and finance. The topic is small businesses. How are we promoting small businesses? Please just give a brief overview of some of the signature initiatives and efforts at each of your respective organizations that help to promote small businesses. I'm thrilled to be here with colleagues at other financial institutions, and I think you're really going to enjoy what they have to say. So Amber, I'll start with you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. So, again, my name is Amber Dawkins, and I lead MasterCard's financial inclusion as well as access to capital efforts for small businesses in the U.S. and Canada. And in this role, as was mentioned, I'm focused on making sure that we provide equitable access to opportunities that includes educational resources, tools, and technology to ensure that all small businesses are able to grow and thrive. And I'm really proud to talk about some of MasterCard's key initiatives that really help small businesses, which, as you all know, are the backbones of communities. And so one of the key initiatives that we have launched a couple of years ago out of the wake of the George Floyd unfortunate murder is our In Solidarity initiative. And that was a $500 million commitment that MasterCard made to close the racial wealth and opportunity gap within the Black community as well as other underrepresented communities. And part of this In Solidarity program is one of our key initiatives, which I lead, which is called Digital Doors. And it's a free program that is open to any small business owner. And it's a platform that you can go to, Digital Doors website, and it provides educational resources and information to help small businesses not only become digitally enabled, but also financially empowered. And if you go to the website, you can find information on how you can set up a shop online, which, as we all know, out of the need from COVID, there was a need for all small businesses to think about how they could pivot and set up a digital presence, but it's also around how you can also protect yourself. So thinking about, once you set up that digital presence, are you thinking about cybersecurity, as well as how can you think about marketing yourself, as was mentioned earlier on data and analytics. It's really important to not only think about how you can grow your presence, and then most importantly, thinking about how you can access capital. So Digital Doors is one of our really key initiatives that we're proud to present to all small business owners. We also are thinking about how we can support startups as well. So we have an In Solidarity Start Path program, which is really around providing networking opportunities, mentoring to early stage startups, and specifically Black and Brown community founders. And then finally, we also think about how we can provide commitments to other financial institutions. So MasterCard is a technology company, we are not a bank. And so we want to make sure that we are supporting banks like Chase as well as other community financial institutions to help them with providing them with capital so that they can provide small businesses with technical assistance and support. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Angela. I love the way you talked about collaboration, right? Like no one institution, no one person can kind of do this. And so it's that collaborative spirit, I think, that's brought us here this evening, and that's really gonna drive us forward. I will change the order just a little. We'll just sort of go down. We'll go kind of down the line of Lloyd. I want to turn to you next, please, just to talk about some of the key initiatives.
Yes, thanks, Michelle. very thankful to be here today. We want to thank Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, MasterCard as well. And I'll just talk a little bit about my role and some of the key initiatives that we have in the community to help small businesses. And in my role, I've been at Carver for 2 years now. I was brought on to launch our microloan program. And it's an innovative program that really wanted to target small businesses because a lot of our small businesses actually had challenges getting access to capital. And we also, data analytics is really important. We also know that over 45 million Americans don't have sufficient credit. So when we set out to actually establish this microloan program, we wanted to look for ways to help small businesses with affordable capital without relying heavily on traditional credit scores. We also wanted to partner with a minority-owned fintech provider so that we could provide an online portal for those small businesses to easily upload their applications, their information, and then we would be able to quickly decision those applications so that we can get those resources to the businesses. Another really important component about the microloan program is that we recognize many of the businesses had 20 or less employees. They had $500,000 or less in revenue, and many of the entrepreneurs were doing a lot of the work on their own. And so we set out to partner with community-based organizations such as Start Small, Think Big, as well as neighborhood trusts that could provide free one-on-one coaching for those small businesses with financial management, marketing, as well as legal support. And one of the ways that we were able to get the capital for the microloan program was through the chamber, through relationships with Lloyd Williams and the team. And we were able to continue to raise capital for the small businesses and get that out to the community. One of the other important initiatives that I want to mention is that through our partnership with the Chamber, as well as sponsorship with MasterCard, we are launching our second annual Minority Women-Owned Business Pitch Competition. And today is the official day that it's open, so we're very excited about that. And it's going to remain open. Yeah, clap it up. Thank you. Thank you. It's going to remain open until late September. And one of the things that we wanted to do was address climate change. And we know that climate change disproportionately negatively impacts communities of color. And we also recognize just through focus groups and just through data that minority entrepreneurs are one of the fastest growing segments of businesses, especially African-American women. And so we wanted to look for a way to help them improve their bottom line by improving their energy efficiency and also their profitability and also impacting their communities. And so we're very excited to announce that we're launching it today. And we actually were able to double the program. We doubled the amount of the award from 5,000 to 10,000, and we doubled the amount of recipients from 2 winners to 4 winners. So the program has grown from 10,000 to 40,000, and we're very excited about the partnership, and we're very excited about the program itself. And so I'll stop there, but those are 2 of the initiatives that we're really proud of and we're focused on because we recognize that access to capital continues to be really important for entrepreneurs. And we recognize that there are some innovative ways that we can get, for example, grant funds, we can support climate change, we can support technology and help to create equitable solutions for the businesses and the community.
I'll turn to my colleague Joy.
Okay, wonderful. So it's interesting. There's a lot of different initiatives that the firm has, and I'm going to start by saying first and foremost with businesses, every business owner is an individual. And so one of the things that we've done is we do have that $30 billion commitment that was made actually a while ago. Almost, we're at the three-year mark right now. So we have 2 more years to go, but we're going to continue to move that forward. But I start with that because it focuses in on really helping our holistic individual, right? So you have workforce diversity and development, that's a part of it. Entrepreneurship, that's a part of it. Home ownership, that's a part of it. And then also really helping people to personally, on the financial side, really get the resources and the understanding and education that they need. So I sit within the entrepreneurial space, and I'll focus on 2 things. One is with our special purpose credit program, which houses actually 3 different initiatives, and then also our Entrepreneurs of Color Fund. And so we talked a lot about access to capital. With our Entrepreneurs of Color Fund, we actually have taken money through our corporate responsibility group, as of course you would know, Michelle, and provided funding to CDFIs to help business owners be able to get access to capital. And so that initiative has been fantastic. With the work that I do as a senior business consultant working one-on-one with businesses, we're able to then refer them over to the Entrepreneurs of Color Fund to help them get access to capital. Within the special purpose credit program, just like you had mentioned, Lloyd, as far as being able to gain access to capital a little faster, sometimes with business ownership, you need money yesterday, right? You need it as quick as possible. And so we've actually improved the process in which businesses can gain access to capital much faster. And I have a lot of really great success stories surrounding that. The other thing too within that is really having a digital platform online for businesses to be able to apply for lending and quickly get a response, right? So that's the other thing too. And the third, which is I think most near and dear to my heart, which really speaks of our new purpose statement as a firm, which is making dreams possible for everyone, everywhere, every day. It is the one-on-one coaching. So I'm one of 51 business consultants in the country, nationwide. And right now we're within 21 cities. And what we do complementarily, whether you're a Chase client or not, is we'll coach you one-on-one. And the coaching lasts anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And what's great is that we'll focus on a couple of areas that are specific to the business, because each business is in a different place. Each individual is in a different place. And some of the things we touch on are access to capital, and not just getting the access to capital, but understanding what are the different components that are needed in order for you to get that access, right? So you want to teach somebody how to fish versus just giving them the fish. So then this way, as they're continuing to grow and to scale, they can take that education and really move it forward. Also helping them understand other ways to get access to capital. So there's investment capital, right? Doesn't necessarily always have to be debt capital. So we talk through that, as well as cash flow management. So once you get the money, how do I manage that money, which is very important, so that you get the best return on that investment that you make, as opposed to just putting money anywhere, right? You want to make sure that that money works for you, and that eventually you can lend to yourself. And of course, if you lend to yourself, you're not going to charge yourself interest, right? We also talk about business development, getting their certifications in marketing, as well as operations. And then last but not least is really building the ecosystem, which is why I love, a lot of people have talked about collaboration, about working together. It's not one individual, it's not one group or organization that can really make things move forward, but it's really building that ecosystem. And what's nice is that when you have a community hub like this, and you have partners not only within the branch, like Rocky, who's our community manager, Kim, who's our branch manager, and Toyin. There was such a great success story that happened today in the branch, supporting the businesses. But then you also have external stakeholders and partners to really wrap your arms around those businesses. You can ensure that that business is successful. And if that business is successful, right, the whole community is able to be successful. So it's a rising tide raises all ships. So that's a little bit of some of the things that we're doing.
Great, so Athena, you have a very unique perspective.
Yes.
You may your public sector experience, so please.
Thank you. Coming from the public sector and working with nonprofits and philanthropic organizations has uniquely positioned me here at the Municipal Credit Union. One of the things I think is the benefit, Lloyd kind of touched on it, is when he mentioned being mission focused and having a purpose, so that no matter where you are, what sector you're in, you're able to be a bridge to our communities. And I definitely see myself in that role. I'm here both with my colleague, Deborah Sinadinos, who's been at MCU for many years, over a decade, just like I've been at the Borough President's office over a decade. And so we make an incomparable team that's focused on community engagement. In this role as Vice President of Community Engagement, I have the unique position of working on a racial equity incubator initiative that is a cornerstone of the work that we're doing right now. And so when you hear my colleagues talking about access to capital, it's what our focus is. When you hear that other commercial institutions, sometimes banking institutions, do not lend to our community because our communities don't meet the threshold or the quota or the criteria, credit unions become the other alternative to helping our communities gain access not just to credit, but also to wealth. And doing it in a way that recognizes that ecosystem. I actually have notes to share with you of a recent conference that I participated in where Dr. Robinson from Rutgers gave great data that I wanted to share, thinking about the Google Analytics, about the ecosystem and what we can do for entrepreneurs, because there are different types of entrepreneurs, right? And so Municipal Credit Union is laser focused on the fact that there are differences, but that those differences are centered around us having human beings, people, right? Mr. Ho talked about people. That really is the way that we are branding ourselves in this new charted course that Municipal Credit Union is focused on. You may not know that over this past 100 years, Municipal Credit Union has been here helping municipal employees and their families. And we recently expanded our charter now to include the broader community. And so that is a significant opportunity for us to serve more people. In addition, we're going into places that we've never been before. One of them is NYCHA, New York City Public Housing. I was raised in New York City Public Housing. Like my sister who talked earlier about her being a bridge coming from communities like Harlem, we have to go and meet people where they are. It's a social work principle that I bring with me to the banking sector. Many have been just focused on numbers and focused on the success and building their own wealth. But are we lifting as we climb to other parts of our communities? They can't be left behind just because they're not aware. So increasing financial education has been a focal point for us, as well as making sure that we're doing individual wellness checks, financial wellness checks for people. We can't lose sight of that. So we can talk about credit, we can talk about debt management. We have products and services focused on student loan, right? Because many of the barriers in our community are focused on the fact that we haven't gotten the support that we deserve to satisfy some of our bills and those needs. We're also focused on basic necessities that go to home ownership. Many of the gig workers, many of the other entrepreneurs, they don't have the brick and mortar spaces. And so we're able to give people, mortgages and personal loans that traditional banks are unable to give. And that will help them have a platform to building their businesses and expanding their entrepreneurship. So more to come, but I'll start there. Thank you.
Thank you. So I actually want to pick up on a topic that Sandra started with the data and analytics and the information that you get from that. And one of the, I think, common themes in what we've heard is that, yes, access to capital is incredibly important, but the knowledge and education that you need in order to start, develop, and grow your business and grow personally is also quite critical. So I'd like to each of the panelists to sort of think about sort of the education component of the work, and really curious, like where are some of the biggest gaps that you're seeing in what people don't know? I don't like to sort of start with the negatives, but we need to understand where the gaps are, where the knowledge inefficiencies, if you will, so that we can really be laser focused in terms of the services that we are providing and the education that we're parsing out. So actually, Joy, I think I'd like to start with you, if you don't mind, and then we'll come down the line.
Absolutely, and that's such a great question. So on the education front, one thing that's great, which is why I love this space and spaces like this, is on a consistent basis, we have opportunities for the community, since we're in the community, to really engage and learn lots of financial literacy and other components of ensuring that that part of their life is very, very healthy, and it's on a consistent, recurring basis. So not just going out into the community to work with different organizations, but also having them come here as well. Two of the gaps that I see very often is, and you would think it would be access to capital, that's one of them, but it's the cash flow management. It's really understanding how to use the money that they get. I remember one time, one of the business owners, and we've actually nationwide programs almost 2 years old, and we've mentored close to 2,500 people, 100 businesses, and graduated almost 1,000, right, nationwide. And so one of the businesses that I was working with, she just said, Joy, I need access to capital. I'm expanding my business. She was an intrapreneur. That's a new term I'm gonna now use. Intrapreneur. She left corporate America, started a farm, African-American woman. She's doing extremely well. And she was like, I really need access to capital. So what we did is we have a cash flow tool on chaseforbusiness.com. And I said, you know what, why don't we go ahead and utilize this tool, right? And really see where you are, to write the numbers down. Because you gotta write things down. You gotta write that vision down. You have to be able to see it in front of you. So we went through the exercise, and at the end, she said, Joy, I am 80% profitable. And I said, yes, that's awesome. She couldn't even believe it. And so that moved us to the next part of the process is, so what are you doing with the money? Where is it going? What's the best way for her to use it? Why do you think you need access to capital? So we really formulated a plan and a strategy surrounding how she was going to manage that money to be able to then lend to herself. We also, in addition to that, looked for other resources that were around for her to get access to complementary money, actually, and not necessarily grants, but there's a lot of other great programs that are out there for people to get access to money. So that to me is one of the biggest gaps, is knowing what to do with that money and where to put it and how to use it accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Lloyd, during our panel prep call. Oh. Can you hear me? Okay. During our call, you talked about some financial literacy work that you were doing, primarily with HBCUs, which I thought was quite interesting. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, thanks, Michelle. And so financial literacy, financial education is so important to the work that we do in the community at Carver. And we have a wonderful partnership with the Society for Financial Education and Professional Development. And through that partnership, we actually work with 3 historically Black colleges and universities, one being Medgar Evers in Brooklyn, Howard University, as well as University District of Columbia. And through that program, we actually work with students, and they get trained to be student ambassadors. So it's not someone like me that's actually teaching students on college campus. It's people that actually relate to them, that understand a lot of their struggles and what some of their goals are. And so we found that student ambassador model has been very effective. And so far through the partnership, we've been able to train over 1,000 students. And one of the great things about it is that we work really closely with the deans of the schools, of the business school. And not only are those students trained by certified financial planners, but they also get access to internship opportunities, whether it's at Carver or one of our partners. And so those students are able to go on with the knowledge that they have, apply that to their own personal lives, impact the student body, and then also have the ability to get access to internships, in the corporate space. So we're continuing to look for ways that we can actually expand that program. And one of the ways that we have identified is to start really looking into entrepreneurship and providing that same model, that ambassador peer model with entrepreneurs. And one other thing I'll share is that, as Joy mentioned, how important it is for entrepreneurs to be prepared to get access to capital. We also partnered a few months ago right here in Harlem with M&T Bank to launch their third multicultural business lab. And it was a 6-week program. It really helped entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. And many of the modules help them with their business plans. A lot of the gaps that we've seen with our business community has to do with them just having a plan in terms of how they're going to start their business, how they're going to grow their business, what resources do they need, in addition to legal aspects, as well as just being prepared to get access to capital. And a lot of the businesses that I've been able to work with, they've had some gaps in terms of their financial statements. A lot of them were working on their financial statements themselves, maybe using QuickBooks, and we were able to encourage them to identify some low-cost options, and some of the options actually are free. A lot of times the businesses may not even have the information. And so what we do is we just make sure that we bring them into our ecosystem, give them the information, help them to get the knowledge, and then just basically prepare them. These are some of the things you need to be prepared so that you can actually grow your business. And whether you're working with Carver or Chase or MCU or any of the other community banking partners, this will be helpful for you moving forward. And we've always encouraged them to build a relationship. You can start locally. I tell them all the time, I say, whether I can help you or not, I want to just make sure you have somebody who you can trust. If you have a question, you can come to me, whether you have a need for a Carver product or service or not. If I can't help you, I can connect you to somebody who will. And so that's something that we want to make sure we establish that trust with those businesses, so that they know that they're not just in this by themselves, but that there are people in the community that care for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, within every part of our community, we have entrepreneurs, whether they are, working in agencies, just trying to hold down a job until they can grow their business and get to the status where they can be independent. And so our focus has been on that, and often we'll be in communities like focused on the Department of Sanitation. We'll be at places focused on the NYPD. We'll be in communities focused on those who are connected to the Human Resources Administration. We'll be at community boards. We'll be at hospital locations around the city. We'll be at various parts of our city that you do not realize are lacking in basic education and financial access. I share that because as my colleagues talk about some of the traditional ways that we're serving our communities, again, our underpinning is really going where the gaps are. And so most recently, as an example, we did a financial literacy series that focused on going in all of these non-traditional places. We focused on going to not just the housing developments, which I mentioned, but also going to places like the advisory boards that are, not often getting the center of attention in the finance and banking world, okay? In addition, we have been focused on what we can do through consultancies with entities like Ameriprise Wealth Builders, right? This is a new initiative we've launched where we're giving financial counseling to help those to build wealth over time. But we've also developed a credit Builder initiative, which is helping us to look at the cycle really of where they are in terms of their relationship with their debt and how they can get out of the debt. We are also doing initiatives that are focused on planting seeds around other needs, whether it's barriers like transportation barriers you don't think about. Our communities need support because you can't build a business and help grow yourself if you don't have even the vehicle, right? So we're giving those auto loans that most would not necessarily qualify for or be able to get. We're also looking at other basic necessities. So whether it's food, and, folks in our community, when we came out of the pandemic, they underestimated the food need in our community. Many of the entrepreneurs that I work directly with, especially in the arts and culture community, they didn't have basic access to those things for their household. And so when we're thinking about this financial education, we're saying, what is it that you need to make sure that your household is in a good place, that you can now begin to focus on these other things. Entrepreneurship, Dr. Robinson mentioned that Lucas, is about the opportunity that exists, right? When you don't have these other factors and other things to think about. It's almost like the freedom that our community is looking for, right? And so the more that MCU can continue to laser focus on those items, I think we all will be doing better with our financial education. Lastly, young people are an overlooked part of our sector. We're working right now with 18 to 25-year-olds, giving them training, right, through workshops and seminars and all that stuff. But we're also going into high schools. My colleague and I in the High School of Economics and Finance, just helping to plant seeds about banking. We're creating focus groups and smaller opportunities to work with parents who have children so that they have savings accounts for those children, but also they're tending to their own financial needs, right? Because you have to look at the whole village, the whole ecosystem. You can't leave any part of it out. And lastly, Sallie Mae, we launched a new initiative with Sallie Mae because we're looking at, again, many of the entrepreneurs, the early business leaders and owners in our community have so much debt. And a lot of this debt comes from our pursuit for education, but we haven't been supported in that. And so now we have this wonderful partnership that's going to help us do more financial education about access in Sallie Mae in a way that is beyond what we've done before.
That is fantastic. Thank you. Amber, before turning to you, I just want to turn to the audience briefly to start thinking about your questions that you have for our panelists. And we'll get that teed up just after Amber's response.
Thank you. So I wanted to start off with your question about education and gaps. I think what's really critical in the way we think about it as MasterCard is we can't start with education until the small business owner really understands where they are and really has a strong grounding in what their gaps are. And so with our Digital Doors program, the first step that we have small business owners take is they do a diagnostic, which is free. So again, you can go to the Digital Doors, MasterCard Digital Doors website. And this diagnostic is a 19 questions that you can take to understand where you are on your digital journey. And so when you think about it, what is your business strategy? How are you accepting and making payments today? So thinking about how are you making payments to your vendors and your suppliers? Are you doing it digitally? Because that creates more operational efficiencies for you and that frees up your time. How are you accepting payments? Are you having to accept checks and then have to go to the bank and deposit those checks? Again, that's taking up your time. As CEOs of your businesses and running your businesses, you don't have time. You're also thinking about where are your gaps in terms of how you're marketing your business, how you're promoting it, and what channels are you promoting, are you being successful? And then also how are you thinking about, as you said, access to capital? So what are the different ways that you can gain capital, whether that be, as you said, debt financing, or there are a lot of grants. And then finally, as I mentioned, how are you protecting your business, which is really critical. And one of the stats I like to share with which is a little bit scary, but I think it's really important to talk about it, is that over 50% of the cyber attacks that are happening in this country are actually targeted to small businesses. And a small business, if they have a cyber attack against them, they run the risk of $100,000 to $200,000 to recover from that. Besides not only your brand and reputation's risk. So it's really important for you to understand what are the tools that are available to you to help you protect yourself. So once you have an understanding where your gaps are, and we give you the assessment with the score that you can benchmark against other small businesses, and then it's really important not only to give you a score, but also to give you recommendations on how you can close those gaps and improve your business. So the next step is then the education. So we have webinars that we host that I actually hosted earlier today. We also have articles, educational resources. And then more importantly, not only giving you the education, but we want to make sure that you have the tools. And so we have free tools that are available to small business owners to help you grow and thrive. So for example, we have a marketing resource center, again, that's free to anyone. You do not have to be a MasterCard card holder. That helps you understand how you can better promote your business. And one of the ways that you can do that is making sure that you understand what are the different channels and for example, how are you leveraging social media and marketing your business online. And so we have access to free tools that can help you understand the analytics and make sure that you are promoting yourself in the right channels. And we also have a free tool that we have created. It's an ad designer that allows you to create social media ads and content, as well as emails, that also has an AI generator, which we talked about bad AI, but has an AI generator that can also help you create headlines to put in your email campaigns and your marketing campaigns. So it's really important. First, understand where you are in your journey. Secondly, get the education, and then access the right tools and products. And there are a lot of tools and products that we have that are either free or at very big discounts to you as small business owners.
Such really rich resources. Thank you. So we have time for some questions. Please.
I have a question for Ms. Joy and Mr. Lloyd. So I'm only 18 years old, and the idea of beginning a startup is
I'm sorry,
kind of
could you
scary.
stand up, please, so we can hear you better? Thank you.
Like I said, I'm only 18, so the idea of beginning a startup is kind of scary. So what you guys said about the one-on-one coaching and student mentorship is really like inspiring. How can someone like myself apply to these programs?
Just really quickly, so I'll direct you to the website, carverbank.com. That's where you could start. And, you know, as it relates to starting a business, as you mentioned, there's a lot of challenges that you could face, a lot of fear. But the good thing is that there's a lot of resources available so that you don't have to feel like you're actually walking along that journey by yourself. And I think it's important to establish a relationship with someone at your local bank. You could start with us here. We could be a resource for you. And then wherever you're looking to take your business, with your business plan, with the resources that you're going to need, we would be able to provide, you know, some support for you as you look to, you know, start on that venture. And like I mentioned before, this year at Carver, we really did want to focus on providing additional resources to startup businesses. You know, when you do your research, a lot of times you'll find resources for existing businesses. And one of the most important things, of course, getting the information, the education that you need, whatever the sector that you're focused on, making sure that you have all of your research. And then there are business pitch competitions. So the one that we actually partnered with earlier this year was a business pitch competition, and there were 35,000 in prizes that were given out. First place prize was $16,000. And so that's a great resource to have as you start your business enterprise. And, you know, one of the important things is the research that you're doing. So whatever business that you're going into, you want to make sure that you're identifying the data. You know, we talked about data analytics today and how important that is. And that data will help create a great foundation for the decisions that you'll make around how you're going to position your business in the market, you know, what your pricing is going to be, and how you're going to attract those customers. And so that research is really important. And then, you know, since this is a banking and finance, you know, the banking and finance piece and all the projections the things that you have to do with that. That's really important as well.
Great, thank you.
And I guess what I would add as part of your ecosystem as you're developing it is, if you can go to chase.com/business consultant, that's where you can actually sign up to be able to connect with somebody. And then also there are several resources on chaseforbusiness.com as well. There's a knowledge center, and we actually have a lot of courses that you can take that are self-directed. But it is important, just like Lloyd was saying, as far as really connecting with not just one person, but a couple of people and different resources, not only institutions like ours, but also your peers. There's a lot of businesses that I have worked with that are your age, right? Or they're in college and they have this great idea and they started something, and it's turned into something pretty big. So really connecting with your peers is good. And I do have to say, I commend you. I definitely commend you for starting. Yeah, I think definitely deserve a round of applause. You have a bright future ahead, and I know all of us are here to support you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add one quick thing to that, which is that NCU has a foundation as well, separate from its regular banking services. And those foundations help to provide seed money for initiatives that young people, when you're trying to start out and figure out, a path forward and you just have an idea, sometimes you can call on us to say, we'd like your support. We just recently supported a number of initiatives. We got a request recently in Harlem. We have another in the Bronx for a summit that they want to put together. And I know all of our institutions do that, but we love when young people step up and say they have an innovative idea, and we can sponsor that. So we offer sponsorships, we offer scholarships, we offer internships. All of that to help to forge a way forward for those in the next generation.
Thank you, sir.
So we have time for one more question. Vincent.
I love everything. I love everything you're talking about. But personally, I've experienced like some banks that they may say they're small business friendly, but they're not. They're actually based off like personal credit being, a certain number. So there's a statement and a question for the idea that you guys are doing. What is the lowest credit score you have to have? That's the question first.
I think it will vary. What I will say about credit unions, because I'm going to toot our horn as being the institution that fills the gap when commercial banking institutions aren't able in whatever way. We do work with folks who have low credit scores. You could be 500, which is considered low, and we'll still work with you. You could be someone who has a high credit score, but maybe other pieces are not in place, and we'll still work with you. So, call on us to at least get you started. And that credit builder initiative I mentioned is also for folks who, if you don't qualify for whatever reason, it starts you on a pathway to getting support. And we do have an email community at nyncu.org, and I'm available and will happily share my number with you after.
Great. Big banks like TD
Put
and
it closer to your
big
mouth.
banks like TD and like Bank of America and stuff. Maybe Chase. I never tried Chase, so I don't know sweet about Chase. They're not very like small business friendly, but that's why we do go to credit unions and like small banks like PNC and Cover. I'm not sure, I never tried Cover. But I feel like an idea to upcoming businesses, like for them, like everything is you guys are talking about is great, but like the main issue here is the lack of knowledge of credit, like how significant your credit, having good credit is, and how you can utilize it like to get OPM or just even build your business credit, because even though it's two separate entities, you still need your personal credit to be able to build your business credit. So that I feel like it will be like a idea for upcoming businesses, teaching them like the significance of that. And just, what am I trying to say? Like, clear, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
No, I think,
Yes,
well,
no,
so
we
if
understand.
so if I may just for a moment, I think you're raising a very good point, and I'll turn to sort of my colleagues and also colleagues at the, peers at the chamber, about sort of this need for more information and more time that's dedicated to this particular topic of credit, because we do know how important it is. There are lots of sort of legs on the stool. You can't, not have any one of them, but you're raising a good point, and I think it presents an opportunity for another session, maybe spending some more time drilling down on this particular topic of credit.
Yeah, because,
I'm sorry, we have to stop.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, I was just saying.
I'll talk to you afterwards about some technology that we're focused on developing that is alternative options, that does not require a bank, because again, I started a technology company, it does not require you to look at credit scores to evaluate a small business owner's credit worthiness. And it's something that we have available today. We're working with banks to intake.
And so our panelists have agreed to stay around for a little bit. We still have more food and more drinks. Please join me in giving a round to our panelists.
I'll take it. Real simple. You had a presentation from the Magnificent Seven, okay? The congressman, number one, U.S. House of Representatives. Google, number two. West Harlem Innovation Network, number three. Chase, of course, number four. Carver Federal Savings Bank, number five. Municipal Credit Union, number six. And MasterCard, number seven. You had billions of dollars of information given today. The most important thing is that you follow up. We should not expect them to be what they're not and cannot be. But you have the opportunity to reach out and touch them, find a way to communicate. And I did hear Michelle give us another responsibility that we will undertake with our partnership with Chase, because that's very critical. And stand back up, young lady. You were talking about being nervous. You should know that what you said was the most important thing that was said today, and you deserve a hand. Thank you for being with us. Okay, so we're gonna mix it and then go exchange cards. We don't oftentimes do cards anymore, but whatever. Some of us do, some of us don't. But could you give the panel a hand again? And thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to stay here. By the way, you should know, for everyone, I've been told by my great friend, Robert Allen, who handles all great things for us, that there's over 1,213 persons right now looking at what has been said today. And so we don't know, they say cast your bread upon the water. And so you don't know what that means. And you can also go to this yourself. You can go to harlemweek.com and you can go to On Demand, harlemweek.com On Demand, and you can pull this up and look at it repeatedly. What did they say? Let me hear that again. What did they say? We close by asking my great friend, Reverend Dennis Dillon, to give us a word of Godspeed. Reverend Dillon.
Thank you, Lord. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Lloyd Williams. And awesome job, the entire panel, the team, and what a wonderful opportunity. We salute you, Chase, for what you're doing in the community. Let's put our hands together for Chase. Father God, we honor you. We acknowledge your lordship, your greatness, your power. We know, God, that there is none like you and there's none but you. And so, God, as we come, we seek your protection. We seek your purpose. We seek your power, we seek your presence, we seek posterity, prosperity, and we honor you. We honor you in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you and have a great evening, everyone. And Harlem Week is not over. We've got a couple more days to go. It's going to get even more exciting as we get ready for Harlem Day on Sunday. God bless you.
We get a group shot out of